Hey, hi everyone, thanks for joining us this afternoon. So as that nice video was just going through, we've got a few ground rules. So just in terms of chat, keep it to the right hand side. If you've got any questions, just below mine and Dan's head, there's a little questions tab down here, a poll for you to fill out as well if you've got time to do that as well. But yeah, just so if you do have any questions, make sure you fill it in, and then it just means we're not going to miss anything. So just a quick check. Can everyone hear me okay?
I can.
Good stuff. That's good. There we go. Awesome. Dan, can everyone hear? Dan, do you want to give that a little go as well there?
Hi guys, welcome. I'm glad you can join me in Copters. Lots to share.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Right, I think we'll crack straight in then. So today's webinar is about this brand new ultimate drone photography package. So this is with our new brand ambassador, which is Dan Hughes, who's with us today. So yeah, let's dive straight in. So yeah, meet the host. Dan, do you want to kick us off and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, it's I've had an interesting few years. Nothing has been through design. Basically, I had an office job. I joined the reserves back at the ripe age of 22. I found out that a reserve unit of the Special Air Service or the Special Forces existed. I thought that sounded fun. So I thought I'd have a go and see if I could get in. And there I was, 450 people on test week. And eventually, out of those 450 people, 16 people got selected and badged to be a member of the SAS. And in reality, that was actually a really high year. So I ended up doing that for just under 7 years, retiring at the grand age of 29 as an instructor and with lots of different qualifications. From there, I went to South America, saw lots of very poor children, and I'm sure you guys have all heard about comic relief and the legendary red nose. And the idea was to simply go and climb the highest mountain in South America and take a red nose with me. I found out that no one had ever done that before, which was kind of quite surprising because it is actually quite an accessible mountain, albeit the way I went up was 1,000 vertical meters of ice climbing. And 2 weeks later, I was like on Google and I wondered, has anyone put a red nose on top of Everest? And it turns out that no one had. So I thought, right, well, this is my big opportunity to try and raise £1 million for comic relief. One red nose, 1 million people, £1 each. So I was trying to get a pound off 1 million people. But it turned out that the charitable element it was good, but a lot of people climb Everest for charity. I genuinely had zero interest in climbing Everest for charity. Climbing Everest ahead of this campaign. It really was about this red nose and raising the money. But I couldn't get the support I needed, even with putting in over £20,000 of my own money. So I needed something else, some technology or something different, something to differentiate from me. And I found out that no one had ever made a live video broadcast from the summit before. And that was my mission. 2.5 years of planning. And on May the 19th, I ended up doing the world's highest live video broadcast from the summit of Everest to the BBC News channel. 2.5 years of planning, 9 months of testing with the BBC, which was super fun. And they even broke through all the programming to speak to me. So they kept a newsreader back all night, broke through the programming to speak to me, which was pretty cool. But still massively disappointed. I didn't raise £1 million, and everyone asked, well, wait, yeah, but that was fine. You raised 53,000. But genuinely, if I'd raised £1 million and not got to the summit, I would be sat here far happier. But anyway, off the back of that, I met some nice people at Gatorade. As I did some sports science testing, I ended up doing really well. 4th highest power test on the bike when they have all the GB squad there. They said, you should be racing. I said, okay then. And less than a year later, I was racing for Great Britain and did two world championships for Great Britain, which was pretty fun. And then ended up riding for a pro race team and got into photography, which is a huge passion of mine. And I believe there's a slide to kind of talk more about how I got into drone photography. But Nothing through design, all through curiosity and through meeting great people.
Spot on. Yeah, quite an introduction then. So obviously, I can't quite equal that, Dan, but obviously I'm Jamie from Copters. A few of you I might have already been speaking to in the past or speaking to at the moment as well. So I'm one of the UAV strategists here at Copters. Been working here for just under 2 years now, and what I'm doing is helping businesses revolutionize what they're doing, their processes, through the use of drones. So this industry is mainly about photography and getting out and exploring. So we've done this with a lot of media, a lot of marketing companies, and we can do exactly the same for you guys that are on today. But yeah, let's crack on. I can see quite a lot of you are already jumping in the questions, which is awesome. So yeah, I think we need to get going. So on today's agenda, so who are Copters? Who are we? What do we do? Meet the big man himself, Mr. Dan Hughes. The story, where he's coming from, what he's done, how he's got to be where he is now. The actual package, what we're all here to see, is this new ultimate drone photography package. What's included in that package, we'll go through slide by slide, what exactly is included and what that means to you as well. How you actually get your hands on the package. So we're looking at around 50 of these, but we'll go into more detail a little bit later on, and then we're going to have that Q&A, which I can see a lot of you getting your questions in already. So yeah, let's go. And just to jump in there as well, if anyone does lose connection, something goes wrong, just give it a little refresh. You can start again, but this will be recorded and we'll send out a copy in the next couple of days. So if anything goes wrong, don't panic. Probably just give it a little refresh. But yeah, to jump in there, who are Copters? Who are we? What do we do? Got a few bullet points there, but I've mentioned it already. It's all about revolutionizing businesses using drones. So can we make that process safer? Can we make it faster? Can we save you money? Okay, so generally the largest industries are inspection, surveillance, public safety, and obviously media being right at the front of that as well. So yeah, we've worked with thousands of different businesses now and benefiting through the use of technology. And off the back of COVID, we've seen a real push in terms of all of these industries as well. So the man behind the camera, Dan, you've given us a bit of an intro to your background in terms of the photography side. Then did you want to just jump in and give us a bit of an insight to what you've done so far?
Yeah, so I've mentioned a few bits which I've done in the past, and this really was the kind of the catalyst, I guess, to drone photography, but in particular photography before. I've always been that person since a very young age, taking photographs. Like, I'm slightly obsessed with taking photographs. It's probably unhealthy, but I never really kind of had a platform, or I take photographs, I'd edit them, and then they were just going to, I would get pleasure out of that, but there was never really any visibility, I guess. That all changed for me when I ended up racing for a professional cycling team for just under 2 years. And at that point, I had actually deleted my Instagram account because I was kind of fed up of it. I was like, I'm posting all this content and not really getting any kind of gratification from it. And it was just kind of stressing me out. With this pro race team, there were sponsors, and they basically asked me to reopen my Instagram account and to take some photographs of my cycling and my adventures kind of around the world. So I started doing that, and they enjoyed the photographs and asked me, do you have these in better quality? And the answer was no, because I was shooting them on my iPhone, but quickly realized that actually there was like this real opportunity to combine two real big passions of mine, and that's one, riding bikes, and two, taking photographs. So I quickly opened up my Instagram account, got into that, and started going around the world with a much better camera. And as their kind of requirements, or I guess the people reaching out to me wanting more photographs from me, I've just kind of stepped up my game each time in terms of using more and more expensive or more capable equipment. And Jamie, I don't know when you want me to talk about how the drone photography bombshell hit is now the time, or
I think you've led on quite nicely off the back of that. So yeah, fire away.
Yeah, so I was in Rio de Janeiro, as you do. I had a big commission for my helmet sponsor, which you can see in that photograph. I'd ridden about 80 miles to go and find this big coastal section, which is a part of the Olympics. I had my camera with me. I had a Mavic 2 drone, which I bought about 4 months before. And I was setting up my tripod and my camera, and then realized that basically it was a bit of a schoolboy error. The part which goes on the bottom of the camera was missing. The hot shoe mount was missing, so I couldn't use my camera and tripod. I'd obviously ridden all that way, and I had this deadline to get these photographs. So I basically decided to launch my drone and have the drone hovering about 4 feet away from my face on the side of a cliff, basically, and on beaches, and basically used it as if it was my SLR. When I got back and saw the photographs, I realized just how capable the camera is on a Mavic 2 drone. And that really was, the bombshell moment for me, that actually this drone, which I bought primarily for video, would now become actually one of my greatest platforms for photography. And actually now I use it 99% for photography and 1% for video. So it kind of, the usage just inverted, and has completely changed my world photographically in terms of working with partners, etc. Because the drone photographs are incredibly valuable, in particular for cycling, where you might be getting really big landscapes of mountains, urban areas, and beaches. So a massive shift in the way I use my drone, and a very, very good one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No, spot on. Okay, awesome, Dan. Well, I've got a quick video for you here, guys, just give you an idea of some of the things that Dan's just been talking about there. Here we go. Check this out. So, whoa, don't need me that big. Okay, so in terms of what you can capture from a drone and some of the amazing different locations you can get to when you're out on these adventures, and you can see the clarity of all the images that Dan's referring to, just like an SLR camera, some of the stuff you can capture with something like the Mavic 2 Pro it's unbelievable with that Hasselblad camera. So yeah, 100%, I think we'll go in. So we've gone into a lot of detail about Daniel Hughes and his story, moving on, but in terms of when you've been using drones, then Dan, what made you come across the Mavic 2 Pro, and can you just explain in other ways that you've used the drone to get these amazing pictures?
Yeah, sure. So when I was looking at drones originally, as a photographer, all I was really interested in was the camera on board. Yeah, I did look at the other specs in terms of like flight duration, etc. But the camera was so important to me. And like you said, it's got a 1-inch sensor made by Hasselblad. A 1-inch sensor is kind of the equivalent of what you might have in a 400 or 500 pound pocket digital camera. It's 24 megapixels, and the megapixels are important. But for everyone out there looking at drones, megapixels isn't the holy grail, in that there are drones with higher megapixel count, but actually the sensor is smaller. So it's a bit like if you're buying a HD TV, you can buy a 4K TV down at Tesco's for £300, but there's 4K TVs and there's 4K TVs. So really don't get lured into the megapixel battle. And yeah, so the camera was extremely important to me, and from using this drone, that has kind of led me to a really significant photographic project, which you saw the 12-second clip called Epic Coals. It was a £40,000 photographic project, which I launched this year with one of the world's biggest cycling brands, Shimano. And in essence, I'm going around the world, and at the moment, primarily in Europe, to go and photograph the world's greatest cycling climbs. But the mission is it is about cycling, but the biggest mission is to just produce stunning photography both from my drone and from my SLR cameras. And it should be photography which, even if you don't like cycling, that you should enjoy. And that is how I've sort of developed such fantastic relationships with some of the world's biggest outdoor brands, from like Strava, Garmin, Shimano. I've just started working with Sony, and that's all about providing inspirational kind of photographs which everyone can enjoy. It's kind of, I guess, my specialty really is epic places and adventure.
Yeah, spot on. Awesome. And yeah, just to kind of carry on where Dan's coming from in terms of megapixels there. So yeah, the Mavic 2 Pro having 20 megapixels is very similar to the Parrot. So the Parrot Nafi, you're looking very, very similar, but it's the technology behind that camera. So having that 1-inch sensor, but also the technology behind it. So it's capturing so much more light with the image, more data, more information essentially, and what can it do with it? So for example, the Phantom 4 Pro, again, 20 megapixels, 1-inch sensor, but the technology behind it is completely different. So if you go on the DJI website, you'll see they're raving about this camera, and it's for a good reason. So yeah, this is the main reason it is part of this package. But yeah, spot on, Dan. But yeah, I think we've touched on this already in terms of how did you fall into the world of drones and kit that you use. So have you got anything else to add to that really, Dan?
I think it's photographically, it's just kind of opened up a new perspective, and often I might use my drone and just hover it like 10 feet above me. But the point about it is that you can utilize it in a very different way to sort of having a camera and a camera person. And all the content you see on my channels, Epic Coles and Daniel Hughes UK, I do use my cameras in a very unusual way, and that pretty much all the content you see on there is self-shot. So, for instance, that shot we see there, which is Mont Ventoux in the south of France, that was self-shot using the time photo shot option on it. The same with my SLRs. If I want to be in the photo, then I'm using it in exactly the same way. So I'm utilizing the equipment in quite different ways. But as you can see, it results. It just provides amazing results. It really is amazing. And there are obviously drone photographers out there, but I'd say that actually the drone photography space is less crowded than, say, people who are using them for video. Which is also kind of quite interesting and a way to help grow your business, because actually there aren't too many people using their drones purely for photography.
Awesome. Well, Dan, just we don't normally jump to questions, but Darren's just asked a question. So how, just to jump in there, how do you take a picture of yourself whilst you're riding then? Would you be able to just go into a bit more detail for us there? I think that leads on quite
nicely. Sure. So first of all, with another reason why I'm using, so I've got two drones. I've got the Mavic Air 2, which is my standby drone, and then the Mavic Pro 2, which is my primary drone. A very, very big reason for using this, not just the camera, but it's also the functionality of the camera as well. The fact that you can control the camera more in manual mode than you can with the Mavic Air 2, which is extremely important. So every single photograph I take using my drone, I use full manual mode, which I have complete control over the shutter speed, which is, we'll talk about that in the filters, but the shutter speed will mean that obviously if you take a picture quickly, you're less likely to get motion blur, which is really important when you're taking a photograph of yourself. So using a high shutter speed is important. And also you can control all the light levels, etc., so you don't overexpose the photograph. And in full auto mode, 99% of the time, it does a pretty good job if you're just kind of taking a picture of a building or something like that. But it doesn't really know what you're actually photographing. If you're trying to take a fast-moving subject, it will look at the environment, but it doesn't know that someone's just going to go past at 40 miles an hour, which is why you need to use a manual mode and have better controllability over it. And filters, again, help give you extra control over your photograph. But how do I take a picture of myself? Yeah, so I'll put the drone up. I always shoot in RAW mode. There is a slight caveat with RAW mode on the Mavic 2 in that it will only take a time shot every 5 seconds, which is quite slow. So if I know that I need to get a more reactive shot, then I'll actually take it out of RAW mode, which kind of I always like to shoot in RAW. RAW is basically the raw photograph, so it's not trying to optimize the photo for you or do any sort of enhancements. As soon as it does enhancements for you, it takes away some of the flexibility of post-edit. But if I know that I really need to get a shot of me, but in quick succession, then I'll then put it into JPEG mode, and that takes a shot every 2 seconds. And I'll literally put it up in the sky and just get it to keep on taking photographs like this. And if I'm not photographing myself, obviously, I'm just going to manually control it as well.
Take control. Spot on. But yeah, I think a massive thing to take from that, really, guys, everyone listening, is just about being in control of what you're letting in, that shutter speed, how much light you're letting in. And we'll go into this in more detail later when we touch on filters as well. But things like photography courses that we will be releasing in future, instead of just not telling the camera what we're looking at and just pointing and shooting, that's just also, and like Dan said, 99% of the time, you're still going to get a very good image with the Mavic 2 Pro, but you can unlock so much more detail and amazing personalized pictures when you do go into the settings and you do play with manual. But yeah, we'll go into that in a lot more detail. Okay, so let's get into the package. So like I say, we're going to go step by step, absolutely everything that is included. So yeah, let's jump in. So we've talked about it a lot already. It's the Mavic 2 Pro with the smart controller. So yeah, it has the megapixel Hasselblad, which is 20 megapixels we've touched on, but it's the sensor. It's that 1-inch sensor, and the actual name of Hasselblad, well known in the photography industry. That is where the value is of this drone. So yes, getting from A to B and getting you in that position is the job of the drone. But at the end of the day, it's all about the data. It's all about the imagery that we're capturing. And the Mavic 2 Pro, in terms of pound for pound in the industry, is one of the best drones in the world. Probably one of the most popular drones in the world because of its affordability, how good it is at flying. But again, this is about photography today, and there's no better than that Hasselblad camera. So yeah, in terms of the drone of this package, it's all circulated around this drone.
Yeah, and so I just step back up a little bit more on that if I can. As a camera nerd, I really have looked at everything under the sun to try and find. I'm always looking for anything better. And unless you want to spend £20,000 on a full-on production drone, which you need 2 operators, then there really is nothing better in class. Just the fact that, I mean, it is totally nuts, the fact that I can have such a capable bit of kit in my hand. It's really fantastic. And also, I'm not too sure, but I wanted to talk about the smart controller as well, and why I've opted to use this over the provided controller. So the provided controller is, there's nothing wrong with it. You simply attach your phone onto it, and away you go. In terms of functionality, you get the same functionality as the smart controller, but the smart controller is so much better for the following reasons. One, the screen. The screen is exceptionally bright. A lot of the time when you're taking photographs, it can be quite bright out there. So it's much brighter than my iPhone, and it's much bigger as well. I don't have to take my phone out of its case or start worrying about cables, etc. Everything is fully integrated in this. I can basically press the button on here, unfold my drone, and be airborne in less than a minute, which is extremely good and very, very flexible, because actually a lot of the times you might see a shot and actually it's a reactive shot and you need to get airborne. So that time saving is very good. The battery is awesome as well. So when I carry my drone, I have 4 batteries with me. This controller will outlast the 4 batteries. And in fact, I've actually flown 8 batteries worth in a single day off the smart controller, which you likely won't be able to do with a normal controller and your iPhone. So that's another important point. And fantastically now, with this controller, you can also control the Mavic Air 2 as well. So if you have multiple drones, you can link multiple drones to one controller, which means that you don't have to be carrying excess controllers, etc. So super bit of kit, absolutely part of the package. It's brilliant.
Yeah, so just to enlarge you there a little bit, Dan, just so everyone can see just what you were talking about with that smart controller. But you're right, you can jump from it, and that's up to enterprise level as well. And you can see how invested DJI are in the smart controllers with the new M300 that they've brought out. Again, that's an enterprise level. It's the next step up, but the smart controller really is something awesome. And you're right, in terms of the brightness, it helps so much when you're out on a nice day. But yeah, guys, keep using the chat. If there's anything I can do when I'm doing the slideshow, let me know. That's absolutely spot on. But yeah, spot on. Cheers for that, Dan. And then just to follow on from that, we have the Flymore kit. So the Flymore kit is essentially extra batteries, carry case. You get a car charging wire, which is a lot of people overlook, but this is something that's really, really amazing. If you're going out onto a location, onto site, and you can just give one of your batteries a quick zap whilst you're en route if you've forgotten to do so. The extra propellers, just in case. It's just a little bit extra of all the add-ons that come with the drone. With the Mavic 2 Pro, normally it is just the drone, a battery, and the controller. So with this, we are adding everything that you'll need to go forward. So that carry case you can see there, it's nice and compact again. It's not going to take up a lot of space. Everything is very, very convenient and absolutely everything that you need. Would you agree with that, Dan?
Yeah, totally. The car charger, although actually a lot of the time when I'm doing my photography, I'm actually carrying everything on my back. So I ride for 100 miles with 2 drones, 2 cameras, a tripod, all these batteries. But the car charger is invaluable. Airborne time this month, 31 hours. I use this drone is in. I should update all my records to find out how many hours this drone has flown. It is crazy, and some days I will pretty much have the drone up all day long. So having the car charger is extremely helpful to keep refreshing my batteries. Yeah, just having one battery that you'll just get frustrated. You definitely need extra batteries.
100%. Okay, and again, we've really, really carefully thought out this package. So this is something that you're going to need going forward. Even little things like the flight assessment, on paper, it should only take 1 battery's worth, but what if you're going to need 2? And it's the same when you're on location. If you don't get the images or that footage that you want first time round, second time round, we want to get the perfect shot. And by having those batteries, it just relieves you of that stress. Absolutely. Okay, so and following on nicely from that, the safety kit. So the safety kit is included in this package. This is included in best practice. We touch on this a lot in terms of the course. This is the entry-level safety kit. So you have your high vis, your cones, your landing pad. When you're flying, if you're on location, when you're doing a photo shoot, a lot of what we do when we talk about our off-call level 4, to get you to that level 4 standard of processes, you need that safety kit. If you turn up to your flight assessment and you don't have this, it'll be classed as a minor. So everything we do here at Copters, we want to teach you the right way, the best way of doing it. Become a master in your area. And to do that, you need the right equipment. So that's why we have the Mavic 2 Pro. You need the right PPE. So the high vis, the protective eyewear, etc. So yeah, in terms of actual safety side, it's necessary for you to pass the PFCO with this or the GVC in the future. So again, this is why it's included in there. Okay. So Dan, did you want to go through the details of the duffel bag? Because I think it's your specialty.
Yeah. So I'm sure a lot of you haven't heard of Peak Design before, but they are just industry kind of leading bag manufacturers or like camera equipment manufacturers, from like tripods to bags, etc. And I love their products. Basically, it's where form equals function. Like when you think, wouldn't it be good if they'd done this, and they have. It's kind of annoying. The kit is kind of perfect, and I do actually have. It's very hard to show you, but I do actually have a bag here.
Here we go. See how big it is.
There we go. So to give you an idea.
So
I've even got my COVID mask ready on the go.
Nice.
But yeah, so it's got some very nice little pouches here for quick access. And then the genius thing about it is that although it's a duffel bag, it comes with these straps, which is hard to see, but the straps then cunningly hide away, so you could then make it just like a normal duffel bag, and then you then have your normal duffel bag handles. It's waterproof. It's got waterproof tapered seams, and most importantly, it's big enough for all your kit. So it'll put in that safety kit, which Jamie just mentioned, and the drone itself comes with the Flymore package, comes with the drone bag as well, and there's room for your lunch as well. So it's a really good bit of kit, and yeah, I've been using that a lot, and it still looks new. So yeah, big fan.
Cool. Yeah, really, really smart. And Dan introduced me to this their collection of bags. I recommend everyone go have a look on their website because they're gorgeous bits of kit. So yeah, plenty of options. But yeah, we've chosen this because Dan's using it. He's tried and tested a lot of these different items, and this ticks all the boxes. You can see from the image there, we've got the Mavic Pro in there. So yeah, gorgeous bit of equipment there, and really, really useful moving forward. Okay, so we've touched on using the cameras and the actual hardware capturing the data. And just to follow on from that, included in the package, there are 4 DJI ND filters of different areas. So in terms of moving forward, filters mean so much, cameras mean so much, but the post-production, again, can be where you put your personal touch on it. But yeah, Dan, did you want to go into more detail on that?
Yeah, so the actual sort of ND filters, and I can show you what one looks like. So I've got one here.
Here we go.
There we go. So in essence, on your camera, you can see the camera there. Oh, wrong way. That's kind of strange. It's got a strange thing in reverse. There we go. Where it says Hasselblad, that is totally removable. And then you can then change it with one of these ND filters. And if you can, the easiest way of explaining an ND filter is that it's like a bit like putting on a pair of sunglasses. So it basically will restrict how much light is going into the camera, which is actually really important because if you don't have these, then it can kind of limit what type of photograph you take. So for instance, you're trying to take a picture of the coast, and you want to get it so the waves look like they've got that kind of, like they're kind of moving rather than just like an instant capture. So to do that, basically you have to open the shutter out, so it like delays the exposure, I guess. But when you do that, it allows more light in, and then you have too much light, and then the picture goes bright white because you've overexposed the sensor. And the only way to kind of combat that is by putting on a pair of sunglasses for the camera. And with that, you get different shades or different amounts of ND, or basically blocking the amount of light into the camera. Super useful for photography, and even more important for video work as well. So I use those a lot. So absolutely, they should be in the package. And if you haven't started, if you've never experienced using ND filters, then it's definitely worth having a play. It can really change what type of photographs you can take. And also you can get other ones as well, which help you with like night shooting, UV, etc. So, but these ones will definitely get you going. And then presets. Do you have a slide, Jamie, for the presets to kind of show you? Do you want to talk about that now? Or?
Yeah, fire away. I think it's lined up nicely. Yeah, fire away.
Okay, so taking a photograph is your job isn't done. Definitely not in my eyes anyway. So obviously taking the photograph as well as possible in terms of like the framing, or like capturing the subject properly, making sure they're in focus and all that sort of stuff. That is literally only half the battle. Every single photograph which you take, you should put through some sort of editing program, because when you're shooting in RAW, you can change so many different aspects about the photograph, and you may only need to just increase the brightness just a little bit, or just increase the clarity or the contrast just a tiny amount. But the thing about it is that you're getting the very best photograph possible. There's a program called Adobe Lightroom, which is used by I don't know, 99% of the photographers around the world. So every single photograph you see in any magazine, National Geographic, etc., will have gone through Lightroom and will have had at least something changed about that photograph. Not trying to hoodwink anyone, but they will get edited. In Lightroom, there's so many different ways to manipulate the photograph. Like there's 20 settings from like brightness, contrast, clarity, exposure, highlights. You can spend hours on one photograph getting it right. And the whole idea about these presets is that I've taken years of taking photographs and I've built certain presets to make my life quicker and easier. And in essence, what you can see on the screen there is the same photograph, but with one click of a button, you can completely change the aesthetic of the photograph. So that is the very, very famous St. Gotthard's Pass, which is in Switzerland. It's famous for cyclists, motorbikes. It's just a beautiful place to photograph. But often it's very bright, it can get overexposed, and also you've got all that detail in the photo around the rocks, etc. And it's really nice to bring out some of those details, a bit of that texture to make it more textural. And so those filters, some of them enhance the texture, some of them change the actual aesthetic, as you can see, from black and white to all sorts. So there's a group of presets which I've made for landscape, and then I've also done the same for urban as well, to try and take away the guesswork for you. And also, the other reason why you should use presets is that if you're doing a commission for a client, the client is going to expect the photographs to all look aesthetically the same. So if you then give them 20 photographs and they all kind of look slightly different or have a different feel, that then makes it very, very difficult for them to put them together to get that kind of continuation. Whereas if you apply one of these presets, you can apply that to all of your photographs from the day or from the job, and then you can then just make very, very minor corrections. So everybody wins. You save a huge amount of time. And on a day, I might take 1,000 to 1,500 photographs. So you can imagine how long it takes to go through that process. It saves me a huge amount of time, and it makes my collection for the client ultimately really consistent, which is important. Making sure that you deliver them a really professionally edited collection of photographs. And then I don't know if you can bring up the urban one as well. So there we go. So that was a photograph which I took in San Francisco, not last weekend, but the weekend before. And again, you've got different graduations to give you that kind of Hollywood cinematic look. Blue hour, which is the time just before sunset, or just after sunset, sorry. And again, they've been carefully thought out and choreographed to give you the best possible looking photograph for in urban situations. But of course, you can mix and match. If you've got a landscape one, you want to make it look more cinematic, just use a cinematic filter. They really aren't constrained to just urban, but so in essence, you've got a whole selection of presets to play with for your photographs.
Yeah, spot on. That's awesome. And again, like you have these different filters that you can use, guys, but you can still experiment. These might just be a starting block. Having that continuity is really, really good across all of your work, and your clients will understand that after you get more and more bodies of work out and you build on experience. But this is just the beginning. Go make your own as well. So yeah, these are just examples, but these are all included in that bundle. Okay, so in terms of the training and qualifications, what is actually included in the business starter package as well? So at the moment we have the PFCO. I can see a few of you have filled out the poll that I added in earlier. So a few guys that have done it, if you haven't. So for those who don't know what it is, the PFCO is permission for commercial operation. So the PFCO, some refer to it as a drone license, but it's permission from the CAA. So the CAA are the Civil Aviation Authority, and that's who we're trying to get our permissions from. We need to be safe and working at a competent level to get into the industry and start flying. So in terms of the course, there are 3 components to it, 3 parts. So there's your theory, there's your operations manual, and then there is your practical. So in terms of theory, you have 8 modules to go through. Then you have a theoretical test. This test it's all multiple choice. You need 75% to pass. So you've got 64 questions altogether, 8 questions per module. You need 48 to pass. So it's relatively straightforward, but we just need to know that you're aware of the rules and regulations within your area, within your airspace. Do you know the right processes when you're flying? In terms of the operations manual, what drone do you have? How are you going to fly it? Where are you going to fly it? When are you going to fly it? It's all this information. So it's kind of like your business plan. When you go through copters, the operations manual, this is a bit like a workshop. So we'll give you a template with examples in. You then take out those examples, put in your own data as mentioned there, and then you send off a draft to us. A couple of our team will then look over it and then send it back to you with some recommended changes. You make those amendments and then you send it back to us, and we'll just repeat that process. It's very, very much an organic process. Some people might tick the box after a couple of tries. Some people, it might be 4, 5, 6. It depends on the person. It depends on the business. Sometimes we can keep it nice and vague when we're getting started. Sometimes we have to be really precise. So I can see a few of you guys have asked about Dan when he's flying his drone on his bike. In his operations manual, he's had to go into detail of that safety side. When he's cycling, what airspace is he in, and he's very aware of this. So yeah, it's all about identifying the safety, what the process is, and what are the what ifs. Moving on to the final stage is the practical. So this is the only bit of flying you actually do on the PFCO course. You've got our session at one of our locations. You turn up, you go through safe setup, best practice, and then the actual flight assessment. The flying is about a battery's worth, sometimes 2, and that's why it's so important, again, to have that fly more kit when you are flying. During this flight assessment, you'll be doing things like figures of 8, squares, boxes, top hats, very simple maneuvers. This isn't the industry to do backflips and chicanes. This is all nice and simple. Everything's in control. So yeah, in terms of the actual flight assessment, it's a little bit like your driving test. So you have your minors and your majors. For example, when I did my flight assessment, it was in a sheep's field. A sheep wandered into my landing area, and I should have said to my instructor, look, there's a sheep in my landing area. If something goes wrong, I'm going to try and land 30 meters to the left. But I thought it's too obvious. I didn't say anything. So I got a minor for that. It's being aware of what's going on around you, your airspace, your blind spots. Have you taken everything into account? So again, it's just all about being aware and competent and just acting safely. Are all your processes up to date? With our PFCO, it is off-call level 4 certified. So what this means is we teach you a level 4 standard. So level 4 is the same as a HNC, a HND, or first year of university. That is level 4. For anyone that's looking to do our level 5 course, that's like the second year of university. What that means to you is you've been trained to a high standard. You can show off and say, look, I've gone out of my way to get the best training possible. No one else in the UK has got this to their name, but it's also good for us because you're representing us at the end of the day. So we need to know that we've trained you to this high standard. We've had some feedback from a lot of our clients and customers to say that our training goes into a lot of depth. It is quite intense in some areas. And this is why, because we want to train you to that high standard that copters like to be at. So in terms of the PFCO, that's included in the course. We then will do an operations manual review every year. So normally that's £150, but we're going to include it in this package. There obviously are a lot of changes that are coming into the industry. So we'll look over that in a year's time. On that point, if you do decide to go with this package, if this is something that you're looking at, the GVC will basically take the place of the PFCO. So we'll just swap that straight out, and then that A2 CFC will be included in the package regardless if you do it now or later. Right, so in terms of Copters Academy, this is a example of what you can see on the left-hand side. This is what the homepage looks like at the moment in terms of our Copters Academy. So you've got 3 different modules that you can see. So you've got our surveying course as an example there, aircraft knowledge, which is module 7 of the PFCO, and then module 12, which is all about the new EU regulations. So that's just an example of what the home screen is. The reason we've called it Academy, guys, is because you may start off with a PFCO, but it's all about taking those next steps and developing. It's practicing, it's experimenting in the industry, and then it's coming back to specialize in an area. With this webinar, it's very likely that you'll look to specialize in photography and broaden your horizons by doing that. So, for example, if you go ahead and look to book onto the Daniel Hughes photography course, that will then show up on that Copters Academy page. So yeah, and this is all included in the actual Daniel Hughes package. So moving on, in terms of being part of the Copters family, being part of the group, what that gives you is a sense of community. We have a really nice environment to learn when we have our face-to-face courses. At the moment, we don't quite have that for obvious reasons, but we do have things like our Facebook group. A lot of customers do come into the office, again, not less so at the moment, but we have that real family feel, and we really do pride ourselves on this. So in our Facebook group, we have just short of 1,000 different pilots in our closed group. So once you've done the course with us, we'll invite you to this group where it gets posted in there, a lot of help, a lot of social aspects. We have people that might be saying something about their flight assessment that they're getting ready for. It might be about their drone, little bits of advice. We post job opportunities. We also post like EU regulation updates as and when they come out. So for example, there's obviously a big change at the start of the new year, but the regulations are always changing. You're not always aware of it because they're not as big. So when these little changes and tweaks do happen, we update you through this Facebook page. So it's a really nice way to keep your finger on the pulse and know what's going on in the industry. So yeah, being part of the Copters family is a lot more than just coming, doing the course and then leaving. So come and give us a call, knock on our door and join the team. So in terms of the first few orders of this package, then Dan, they're going to get some exclusive content. Did you want to just take it away with this slide?
Yeah. So the very first person who orders the package, they'll get 2 hours of Zoom time, or however you want to connect, Teams, WhatsApp, whatever. 2 hours with myself. So we'll have like an hour one-to-one. And if you want to talk for more, that's cool. I like talking drones and photography. I'll probably talk too much. So we'll do that. And then you can then go away for a few months and then come back and we can look back and sort of see how you're getting on. And you can literally ask me anything in that from, commercial questions, drones, whatever you want to ask, basically. So the first person gets 2 hours of web chats with myself. And then the first 10 orders get a limited edition signed A1 print. This is a photograph which I took in San Francisco, and it's valued at £360. And also this photograph is another very, very good example of editing. As much as I would like to say that I took that, at the perfect blue hour and all that sort of stuff, I actually took that mid-afternoon. So it was actually relatively bright, and I've managed to basically edit that so it looks like that. But as you can see from that photo, though, there were some steps with the photography to make sure that it was going to be what I think is a pretty nice photograph. The alignment of the road with the Golden Gate Bridge, the fact that the light was casting shadows on certain parts of the road. So the composition of the photograph was there. I kind of knew it was going to be a good photograph. But then the post-edit process is really, really important. And you can end up coming up with like photographs like that, which I think is quite pretty. And is one of my signature photographs. So the first 10 orders will get a signed copy of that as well.
Awesome. Yeah, some amazing footage there, Dan. And for anyone interested in more images from Dan, pop over to his website. And you can find more of that on our website as well. But yeah, actually stunning image there. Okay, so I think we may have run over a little bit in terms of the actual webinar, but I think we've had a lot to get through. There's been a lot of content. I can see the chat has been very, very active. I just saw a question pop up there in terms of ATI mode. In terms of ATI mode, guys, if you have the smart controller with the Mavic Enterprise, you can go into ATI mode, but all the rest of the models, you can't manually go into ATI mode. So by doing this, it does make the PFCO flight assessment easier by not doing that. So I hope that answers your question. But right, I think we'll get into the Q&A and fly through it. I think we're going to run over a little bit, guys. But as I said, there will be a recorded version sent out for anyone who does have to leave. But right, let's crack on then, Dan. So let's start with the top one. So, hi Daniel, do you have a process when charging clients? Do you have a flat hourly rate or charge a half a day minimum, for example? I imagine photography and film jobs command a different invoicing approach too. So yeah, how do you go around pricing then, Dan?
That is a really interesting one, and I have to say that it is kind of dynamic, I guess.
Yeah.
So when I first started doing commercial drone photography or basically any photography, I spent a lot of the time actually almost working for free, because at the end of the day, with certain big name clients, you kind of have to prove your worth, and it's about building up industry respect, and so you have to be kind of flexible with pricing. So for instance, if you're just starting into drone photography, it's always good to have that nice CV behind you. So yeah, certain clients, I might shift my pricing model because I know that actually working with them is going to be extremely valuable to me and my brand and my photography. So when I first started, I was charging some clients, some I wasn't, and I'd rather have the work than not have it. So my day rate was £400 a day, which is still actually pretty respectable, to be honest. But now I'm charging £1,100 a day for photography. I did a video project in San Francisco, which was a day worth of videoing for a client and some photography as well. And the commission on that was $2,500 US, and that was 2 days of my time. So it really is kind of dynamic to what they need and also how much time you need to put in it. The question is completely right in that video work is a whole different ball game in terms of obviously doing the filming, but most importantly the editing, which something I'm competent at doing, but I'm absolutely not an expert. So if I have a very, very high profile client, I might do the filming, but then I'll give it to another person to then do the editing for me. So that again will affect your pricing. So long story short, you charge what you think the client can handle, and also you have to respect how much time you're putting into it. And I've been there and done it over the last few years where I've completely underpriced or underappreciated just how much time it's going to take. It's very, very easy to say, yeah, I'll do this. I'll do this video for you and deliver 400 photographs. And then all of a sudden, actually, you realize that it's actually taking you 2 weeks worth of work, and you've completely underpriced yourself. So a bit of that is experience, and you kind of learn the hard way, I guess, in terms of just how much time it's going to offer you. And also, don't be bullied by the client in terms of some clients say to me, well, look, we want a minimum of 50 photographs on this shoot. I can give you 50 photographs, but they wouldn't be 50 photographs I'd be happy to give them. You've got to think about your professional reputation as well. So don't get bullied into minimum deliverables. Yeah, you might be able to achieve it, but you say to them, I'm going to deliver you a really impressive collection of images. And that's why I tell my client, if I deliver 60 and it's above 50, fantastic. If it's 35, I'm not stressed because it's 35 high quality images, which I'm happy to put my name to.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. And yeah, just to add to that, it really is a bit of a trial and error, but by all means get in touch with us and we can help you through that process. We've done that for quite a few of our clients now, looking to tender out work. And look, pricing is tricky. It's different for every customer, as Dan's just said there. But if that's something that you are struggling with, guys, just get in touch. Just to jump to Kevin in the chat there, really good question. You just said about how do I reserve a package? If this package is something that you're interested in, we're doing a £300 deposit. we have 50 that are going to be holding until the end of November. So they're going to go fast. If that's something you're interested in, I've already mentioned about how popular this drone is. Very likely the most popular drone in the world, not to mention the rest of the package. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can see my email address there. Get in touch and we can get that all sorted. So I'll just leave that there for you now, guys, and we'll carry on with the Q&A. So Alan's asked a question: am I too old, nearly 70, to start a drone photography business, and how much does it cost to get going? So I think I'll just go straight into that one. And really, it's in terms of getting going, the reason we've put this package together, Alan, is because we've seen a demand for it. We can see Dan is living testament that it can be done. And again, we're using the same kit that Danny's using. So he's a prime case study of this is how much it costs to get going, and this is what you need. What do you think to that, Dan? Is that fair?
Yeah, 100%. And if someone had told me, even just like 2 years ago, would you be like a Sony photographic ambassador and working with all these other clients, I would have literally fallen off my chair. If you have the energy and passion, and that's all it is. I'm highly driven, and I just love it. So I'm working on this stuff literally 16 hours a day, 20, every day of the year. I'm that far down the rabbit hole. So if you have passion and desire, genuinely, I'm a big believer that you can achieve anything. So absolutely, there's no age limit. Just passion. You need it.
Spot on. Yeah, absolutely awesome. Right. So Roland, we'll roll through a few, and if we don't get through everyone, guys, we will be in touch and we can go into more detail for you as well. I'm an existing commercial photographer looking to add drone photography and video footage to my clients. Also interested in selling stock drone footage. I've had quite a few clients get into this, and they're now starting to reap the rewards of stock footage. Have you got any experience on that, Dan, or selling? Well, I suppose selling we went into quite a lot of detail, but the footage.
Yeah, so in essence, with it's less around drone video, but in essence, all of my photographs are available on a subscription basis. So I do have some clients who basically pay a monthly fee to gain access to all of my imagery, and then that fee is just kind of flexible, is different depending on usage. And that's another kind of hornet's nest in terms of, well, just how much do you charge for an image? In terms of if someone, so I have different pricing rates if it's for usage on social media, web or digital, and then I have another pricing rate if it's for printed press, etc., and different licensing options. I don't use like sites like Shutterstock, Getty Images. I'm actually talking to them about actually having my work on their website. But there's a lot of stock websites out there which are really good, but also they're good for visibility, but ultimately they won't pay you probably what you should be getting paid for that really unique shot. But like anything, it's visibility. Instagram, I kind of love and hate it at the same time.
Yeah.
I hate Instagram. It takes up too much of my time. In fact, well, now I've got someone helping me with it, but it's a platform for people to see your work, and that is the biggest problem in this industry. If no one sees your work, then you won't get work. So yeah, for sure, Shutterstock can be useful for visibility.
100%. Yeah, it's all about making noise, guys, letting people know that you're there. So yeah, great point on Instagram.
I'm constantly emailing people. I spend more time emailing than I do drone flying or riding my bike. Constantly hustling, trying to find work, trying to pitch out to companies for work, and that's really what you need to do. And kind of, I guess, 3 years on knocking on everyone's door. Eventually they'll give in and they'll give you some work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, could not agree more about that. Having that mindset and getting in touch. 100%. So Darren's asked, so we've touched on it really, but just to go over it again, what video editing software do you recommend for people starting out? Because there's obviously lots of options out there, Dan. I know you're more photography based, but what would you go with?
So I use Adobe Premiere Pro. the reason why I use that is because I basically subscribe to Adobe Creative Suite, but also because actually it's industry leading. So Adobe Creative Suite, that gives you Lightroom, which is what you use to edit your photographs. It gives you Photoshop, which again is another useful photo editing tool, but you kind of use them in collaboration, but for kind of different purposes at the same time. And then Premiere Pro is, in essence, what all industry-leading videographers will use to edit their videos. The good and bad thing about it is that the capabilities of it, and After Effects, which is like a bolt-on, is just insane. The amount of capability there is huge, but with that comes quite a steep learning curve. It's not the easiest piece of software to use.
Yeah.
So, for instance, something like iMovie or a more basic software, or even Apple's Final Cut. Final Cut is still a very, very capable bit of software, but just in terms of using it from the get-go, it's just a little bit easier to use, which for most people, it'll be more than enough to be able to create highly polished professional videos. But if you are going to get Lightroom to do your photo editing and Photoshop, then it kind of makes sense, if you haven't got any experience, to get Premiere Pro, get on YouTube. There's an answer for everything in YouTube. If I don't know it, I'll just go on there, and all of a sudden, every time I use it, I find out a new way of doing something, and it's an incredible piece of software.
100%. Yeah, that's it. Just push on from that. There's always classes that you can take. There's always YouTube, and it's the most used search engine. So if you are looking to learn, I know Gerard has struggled in the wings there, but it's one of those. It's preference at the end of the day, guys. It's I like a bit of Photoshop and Final Cut Pro, which is Dan referred to. A lot of it is preference. The stuff you can do in Lightroom is awesome. But again, if that's something that you're interested, you're not too sure about, then get in touch. We can help you out with that, guys. Give you a few different things to look at. Someone's asked, have we got a before to end example of any of your high rated pictures? And also just watched your introduction on YouTube, and that's really, really cool. So you got a few fans watching today. But yeah, in terms of the changes, Dan's gone into a lot of detail about how good an image can be, but how much better you can take it and what levels you can take it to in terms of the post-production.
Yeah, I don't know if you can, I know we had those slides where you had all the presets kind of applied. Is it possible to bring up one of the originals and then like the image with, because obviously it's kind of quite hard to see just how different images there. Do you have access to that?
I don't think I can squeeze it. No, not quite. But in terms of software, we can really see how much of a change just a couple of different filters, different edits, the different layers that you can add in Lightroom, in post production. The changes you can make are huge, wouldn't you say?
It's literally like the San Francisco photo. It's night and day.
Yeah,
it is incredible, and I will. Not every picture I take will be perfect, and I'll take a picture and I'll look at it on Lightroom and go, oh, just didn't get that right. In particular, if you're shooting in like super bright conditions where anything important, I will pre-recce the site on every level, like from flying my drone and being legal to even just like looking at light levels, where the light's coming from. I'll go and recce that to death. A bit like San Francisco when I took this shot and before. So I'll try and go out at optimal times, but you might not have that opportunity. The client might just say to you, right, I need this photograph taken at 2:00 in the afternoon. The light's directly above, it's super bright, overexposed, and actually with the drone, you can't rescue a shot of that. However, in Lightroom, using these filters, and there are filters there which have been built purely for like super bright days to try and get rid of some of that brightness and to dehaze them. And it is amazing what you can rescue with Lightroom. A photograph which you think, oh no, that's terrible, you can actually rescue it and turn it into something actually pretty decent. So it's so important, Lightroom, and those presets will just help so much.
Absolutely. Yeah, you really can rescue it. And like I say, you can take take images to that next level in that post-production. But I think a really big thing to take from what Dan's just said there is going to that location, checking it out. Even if it's not photography, for the safety side of things, go to the site, go to that location. Are you aware of everything that's going on there? From a safety, from a process background, that's ideal, and that's exactly what you should be doing when you're using drones in the industry. A few people are asking just about the bundle. As mentioned, it's a £300 deposit. There's 50, just 50. In terms of the package, it is 3295 excluding VAT. And like I say, there's only 50 of these. We've built these completely around Dan and what he is using, what he's getting joy out of, and what he's getting amazing results from. In terms of what Dan's earning now, he's doing very, very well for himself. And this is the product path made out for you off the back of that. We're trying to mirror Dan's success. We've got a couple more minutes. We'll go to 1:15. And if anyone, we don't get to your questions, we will be in touch afterwards as well. So next one is a little bit different. So I'm currently working as a videographer for a large organization making social media edits and editorial content. My team are interested in me becoming a drone pilot. Do I require specific training and or licenses? My little research tells me that the goalposts are constantly changing yet to fly drones, and I'm getting a little confused. Okay, well, Alexander, what I would say is, yes, the goalposts have changed quite a bit, but don't worry, there's a lot of noise on social media. There's a lot of noise online. If you get in touch with us, we can walk you through it. If you train now, everything will transfer over. You're not going to lose anything. You're not going to have to do any extra training or have to pay anything extra. Or even if you train later, you're not going to be disadvantaged. So I'd say get in touch with one of our experts and we can walk you through the best processes. But it is confusing. I do exactly know where you're coming from. But yeah, get in touch, Alexander, and we can help you out with that. Right, okay, so I think we'll have one last question, then we'll wrap it up. So, try and get a good one for you, Dan. Okay. So Dan, how long of exposure can you do with the Mavic 2 Pro to maintain sharpness as well? So, for example, using water or by the sea, I know you referred to that area earlier. Yeah. What sort of time length are you looking at?
That's a really good question, and I'm going to say I don't know the answer because I actually can't remember. I'm not even going to guess. I have to look it up. I literally, I'll be there with my controller and I'll just be adjusting the settings until it works. But I can't remember exactly how long of exposure you can do it. I know it's not like an SLR where I can basically leave my SLR. It's called light bulb mode. We literally just open it and it just stays open forever. But I don't want to guess. It's seconds, but I can't remember which one.
But it's like you say, Dan, earlier, it's going into manual and testing it out for yourselves, guys. So having a little try around, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work. And that's the art of putting your own personal touch with using something like the Mavic 2 Pro on. I'm
going to boot up my smart controller and give you the answer. I can't walk away and not tell you.
Carl's asked about retesting for the PFCO as well. So the theory is free to resit. The practical, it's £150. But if you're not feeling confident for the flight assessment, what we do is we can just postpone that to a later date.
Probably hear it boot up.
Let's have a look. What else have we got? So someone's just asked about the smart controller being compatible with the Inspire 2. It's not. It's a slightly different controller. In terms of using a HUD with a smart controller, yeah, it's a good thing to use. Dan, do you ever use one of those screen HUDs with the Mavic 2 Pro?
I used to use a screen HUD on this one. But I haven't yet used one with this one because actually I've found that it's been okay, to be honest. But I did have big problems when I was using the bundled controller, but it's much, much better with a smart controller for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, in terms of that brightness, you don't really need the hood as much. It's generally twice as bright as any smartphone. So it really does help on those sunny days when there's a lot of light around. Okay, and Gerard's just asked a question in terms of different drones and looking at the Anafi USA. We've got our practice models in at the moment, Gerard, which are absolutely awesome. The drone sounds and looks phenomenal. It's the first time I've seen it. We had it in the office, did a lot of testing. In terms of drones, it's dependent on what you're looking to use your drone for. So if it's photography, there are more specialist drones out there. In terms of inspection, search and rescue, surveying, there are obviously so many drones out there in the industry, and finding the right one for you might be the USA. So with and through conversation with our team, we can find that out for you. How are you getting on with that, Dan?
Yeah, so the answer is not as long as I thought it was. So it's 1 in 30, which actually isn't actually that long. But to give you an idea, I'm going to put it on my Instagram story right this second. I took a really good picture of Geraint Thomas in the Giro d'Italia, and I had my camera set on 1 in 50, and he's perfectly in focus, but everything else is completely blurred. So it will definitely be good enough to get you those nice kind of blurry backgrounds like waterfalls or etc.
Spot on. Awesome. Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for that, guys. For those of you who have not got to the questions, we've not got to as a team, we will be in touch. We'll get them fired back to you. We'll be in touch. Thank you for joining us today. Dan, thank you very much for joining us as well. In terms of this ultimate photography package, if that is something that you're interested in, like I say, there's only 50. We are taking deposits of £300. My email's on there. Do get in touch. If you have any questions, get in touch. And again, thank you for spending your afternoon with us. That's awesome. Cheers for that, Dan.
No worries. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. And yeah, see you around.
Awesome. Cheers, guys. See you later.